August 2016, New York City. The summer humidity is suffocating, a thick blanket of heat that clings to everything. But inside a nondescript apartment in Queens, the atmosphere is twisted. The windows are closed, and the thermostat is bizarrely cranked up to the maximum heat setting. In the bedroom, a woman lies motionless on the bed. She is dressed in delicate lace lingerie that she never bought, surrounded by white pills scattered across the floor like confetti. To any first responder walking through that door, the narrative seems written in stone. A tragic, open and shut suicide. A lonely immigrant overwhelmed by the city. But this scene is a lie. A carefully constructed stage play. The woman isn't depressed. The pills aren't hers. And the weapon used to take her down wasn't a gun, a knife, or a rope. It was a slice of cheesecake from a famous Brooklyn bakery. A gift, hand-delivered by a friend who didn't just share her native language. She shared her face. And beneath the makeup and the smiles, this friend was desperate to steal her life. One breath at a time. To understand the horror of that August afternoon, we have to go back 2 years. In 2014, 33-year-old Olga Tsvyk was living a modest life in Kyiv, Ukraine. She worked as a travel agent, but her world was turning upside down. The revolution of dignity had erupted, bringing political instability and social unrest to the streets. The tourism industry collapsed, and Olga's job vanished with it. Facing an uncertain future, she made the brave decision to leave everything behind. She packed her bags and flew to the United States, chasing the promise of reinvention. But the reality of the American dream is often colder than the fantasy. Olga settled in Forest Hills, Queens, a neighborhood known for its large Russian-speaking population. She didn't have a high-flying career. She worked long hours as a nanny and slowly built a small, independent business doing eyelash extensions from her home. It was a quiet, solitary life. Until January 2016. That winter, a new client walked into her salon who felt strangely familiar. Her name was Viktoria Nasyrova. She was Russian, 40 years old, and exuded a dark, charismatic confidence. But what struck Olga the most was the physical resemblance. They shared the same dark hair, the same pale complexion, and similar facial features. They were only a few years apart in age. It was like looking into a distorted mirror. Viktoria was everything Olga aspired to be. She claimed to be a wealthy massage therapist living in Brooklyn, flashing cash and tipping generously. She told Olga she had a green card and lived without financial stress. Over the next 6 months, Viktoria groomed Olga. She brought gifts, shared stories in their native Russian, and forged a bond that felt like sisterhood. But there were cracks in the facade. Viktoria's social media was filled with vacations, not work. And once, when Olga asked for a massage to help with back pain, Viktoria deflected, refusing to offer the very service she claimed was her profession. On Sunday, August 28, 2016, the trap was sprung. It was Olga's day off, a day she cherished for rest. But Viktoria called, frantic. She claimed she was flying to Mexico for a vacation and had a lash emergency. She begged Olga to open the salon just for her. Olga, unable to say no to a friend, agreed. Viktoria arrived 2 hours late, but she didn't come empty-handed. She carried a box containing 3 slices of cheesecake. The atmosphere in the apartment shifted. Viktoria was pushy, almost aggressive with her hospitality. She quickly ate 2 slices of the cake herself, then urged Olga to eat the third. "It's fresh. You must have it," she insisted. Olga, polite and unsuspecting, ate the cake. The reaction was almost instant. Within minutes, a wave of violent nausea hit her. The room began to spin. She barely made it to the living room before vomiting. Through the haze of dizziness, Olga saw Viktoria. But the concerned friend didn't call 911. She didn't panic. She simply offered Olga a glass of water and said in a chillingly calm voice, "Don't worry, I will clean this up. You just go to sleep." Olga passed out, sliding into a chemical darkness. The next day, Viktoria returned. She acted the role of the nurse, bringing chicken soup to the still groggy Olga. But the soup was just a chaser. Another dose of poison to finish the job. Olga lost consciousness again. When her landlord finally investigated the apartment on August 30th, the scene was set for a funeral. Olga was dressed in lace lingerie she didn't own. The air conditioner was blasting heat in the middle of summer, a tactic forensic experts know is used to accelerate body decomposition. Viktoria hadn't just tried to kill her. She had tried to dissolve her timeline. Olga survived by a margin of minutes. Doctors later said if she had arrived 40 minutes later, her heart would have stopped permanently. But when she returned to her apartment, the true motive became clear. It wasn't just a robbery, though her cash and gold rings were gone. The most valuable things missing were her papers, her Ukrainian passport, and her employment authorization card. Viktoria Nasyrova didn't just want Olga's jewelry. She wanted her identity. She wanted to wear Olga's life like a new coat. Police initially treated the case with skepticism. The toxicology reports came back clean. The doctor suspected an overdose, perhaps a suicide attempt that the patient was too ashamed to admit. Without proof of poison, the police couldn't arrest Viktoria. But Olga refused to be a victim. She started asking around, and soon a terrifying pattern emerged. She was introduced to a man named Ruben Borahov, a 47-year-old laundry shop owner in Queens. Ruben's story sent shivers down Olga's spine. 2 months prior, in June, he had met a woman on a dating site who went by the name Anna. She was charming, Russian, and eager to meet. Ruben went to her apartment for a lunch date. Anna had prepared fried fish. Ruben took a few bites, and the world went black. He woke up in a hospital days later, his memory wiped clean. His wallet was empty. His credit cards had been used to rack up $2,400 in charges, and his $800 watch was gone. When Olga showed Ruben a photo of Viktoria, he recognized her instantly. Anna and Viktoria were the same woman. As the NYPD finally began to connect the dots, they uncovered a disturbing underground life. Viktoria wasn't a massage therapist. She was a predator who prowled dating websites and BDSM forums. She used aliases like Rachel, Mara, and Sabina, targeting men who were looking for dominatrix encounters. She knew these men, often married and secretive, would be too ashamed to go to the police after being drugged and robbed. She was a black widow, spinning a web across New York City. But why the obsession with Olga's passport? Why the elaborate attempt to stage a suicide? The answer lay halfway across the world, buried in the soil of Russia. In 2014, in the city of Krasnodar, Viktoria had played this game before. She had befriended a 54-year-old neighbor named Alla Alexenko. Just like with Olga, Viktoria charmed her way into Alla's life, isolating her from her children, whispering lies to turn her against her friends. When Alla sold her mother's house and had a large amount of cash and furs, she suddenly vanished. Alla's daughter, Nadia Ford, lived in New York, but sensed the danger immediately. She called her mother's phone, only to get silence. She flew back to Russia, only to find her mother's home eerily clean, with money and heirlooms missing. Nadia confronted Victoria, banging on her door. Victoria screamed, "Your mother is alive!" and slammed the door in her face. But Nadia didn't give up. She obtained traffic camera footage from the day of the disappearance. The grainy video showed Victoria driving Alla's car, and in the passenger seat, slumped over and motionless, was the body of Alla Alexenko. Days later, Alla's charred remains were found in a shallow grave in a nearby village. She had been murdered and burned to hide the evidence. Russian authorities issued an arrest warrant, but Victoria was already one step ahead. It was later revealed she had seduced a local police officer who tipped her off. Using a fake passport, she slipped through the net, flying from Moscow to New York before the handcuffs could be slapped on. For 2 years, Viktoria Nasyrova had been living in Brooklyn as a ghost. She was on the Interpol Red Notice list, wanted for murder. She knew it was only a matter of time before her past caught up with her. She needed a way out. She needed a new face, a new name, and a clean history. Olga Tsvyk was supposed to be her ticket to freedom. By late 2016, the NYPD knew they were dealing with a monster. But finding her was a different story. New York is a sanctuary city with over 8 million people. A ghost like Victoria could vanish into the immigrant communities of Brooklyn without a trace. Nadia Ford, frustrated by the bureaucracy, turned to a private benefactor known in the community as Lady Mitzvah. This anonymous woman hired Herman Weisberg, a retired NYPD detective turned private investigator, to hunt Victoria down. Weisberg knew that standard surveillance wouldn't work. Instead, he targeted Victoria's greatest weakness, her narcissism. Even while on the run from murder, Victoria couldn't resist the spotlight. She maintained multiple Facebook profiles, posting selfies of her glamorous life, wearing furs, dining out, and driving luxury cars. She thought she was untouchable. She was wrong. Weisberg's team began a digital forensic analysis of her photos. They didn't look at her face, they looked at the background. In one selfie taken inside a car, they zoomed in on the stitching of the leather seats. They identified the distinct dashboard layout of a Chrysler 300C. Now they knew what she drove. Then came the breakthrough. In another photo, Victoria wore large, reflective aviator sunglasses. Weisberg enhanced the image, looking deep into the reflection of the lenses. There, distorted in the glass, was the blurry outline of a street corner and a building. In another shot, the reflection in the car's dashboard revealed a specific storefront. Using Google Street View, the team virtually drove through the streets of Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn, matching the reflections to reality. They found the location. But finding the car wasn't enough. They needed the woman. Weisberg gave his field team a crucial instruction. Don't look for her face. Look for her shoes. A fugitive can dye her hair, wear a wig, or change her coat, but they rarely change their expensive boots. On March 20th, 2017, the surveillance paid off. The team spotted the Chrysler. They spotted the boots. The NYPD moved in, raiding the apartment Victoria shared with a boyfriend. Inside, they found a trove of stolen lives, passports, IDs, and jewelry belonging to her victims. Hidden among the stash was Olga Tsvyk's Ukrainian passport. But the final piece of the puzzle came from the lab. The Department of Homeland Security agreed to retest the cheesecake box using advanced methods not available in standard hospital screenings. This time, they found it. The cheesecake was laced with phenazepam, a powerful benzodiazepine developed in the Soviet Union. It is not prescribed in the United States. It was a chemical signature, a weapon that could only have come from a Russian national. Victoria's behavior in prison was as chaotic as her life outside. She got into fights, blinded a fellow inmate temporarily, and even tried to smuggle drugs through her lawyer. But the evidence against her was overwhelming. In April 2023, nearly 7 years after she tried to kill her lookalike, Viktoria Nasyrova was sentenced to 21 years in prison by a New York court. The judge called her a ruthless and calculating con artist. Olga Tsvyk has since moved to Florida, trying to leave the trauma of the cheesecake killer behind. But for Nadia Ford, the battle isn't over. She is still waiting for the day Victoria finishes her sentence in America, so she can be extradited back to Russia to answer for the charred body in the shallow grave. Victoria tried to steal many lives, but in the end, she only succeeded in forfeiting her own.